allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's take that go around.
Morning. We have quite a bit of business to do this morning. Regular business, we didn't do a meeting last week, so we'll have a few things from that to cover. And I think we'll have some public comment at the end of the meeting, and we'll be here for that. No problem. Much time as it takes, okay? All right. Morning, Mr. Auditor. Minutes, claims.
August 1st, minutes for approval.
Motion approved. Second.
All by aye? Aye. Okay.
And next, I've got the August 3rd payroll for $1,188,760.32 to be approved.
Any questions?
Motion approved. Second.
All by aye? Aye.
And next, we've got the regular claim docket for August 5th through the 11th for $917,947.77.
Questions?
No. I'll make motion to approve. Second.
All by aye? Aye. All right.
And finally, we've got claims for July 29th through August 4th for $420,060.52.
Motion to approve. Second.
All by aye? Aye. All right. Okay, first item. Adoption of Resolution 2023-09, accepting bringing Vigo County into state public health funding. Comments, commissioners?
I'd like to get Jody for just a couple minutes so she can kind of explain what's going on here.
Absolutely. Joni Wise, Vigo County Health Department. Senate Bill 4 was a bipartisan supported bill that enhanced public health funding for Indiana. It doubled our amount. And so where, let's say before we spent, I'm just using this as an easy analogy, $10 per person in Vigo County, now we will be spending $20, or investing is a better way to look at it. So what the state did is they took our 3-year average of our budget, health department's budget, which ours is about $1,234,000, and they doubled that. And what we did was work with community partners on where we feel this first year of funding would best be utilized. And so we're working with our courts, Chances for Youth, our Vigo County School Corporation, some of our recovery service programs, and enhancing some of the services that we have in Vigo County. So super looking forward. This money is used to supplement, not to supplant what we get from our tax levy, and just looking forward to see how we are going to move the needle in Vigo County. Yes.
Yeah, so like most counties across the state that are opting in, we did our due diligence. Jody and Amanda and Health Department did a great job going through the bill and discovering what we already do, which is 99% of the work. I mean, we're already ahead of the curve here with our health department. So, it's just showing what the rest of the state is doing. So, if there's no further comments, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-09.
I'll second.
All by aye?
Aye.
Aye. All right, this is a big deal. Thanks. All right, next item, appointment to library board by the commissioners. Got it.
Board of Commissioners of Vigo County, this is the library board appointment, Vigo County Library Board. This is to certify that George Hubel has been appointed to the Vigo County Public Library Board effective this 8th day of August 2023 for a 4-year term, expiring on July 9th, but it's not the 8th. I wasn't here last week because I was sick. So, in testimony, whereas the Vigo County Board of Commissioners have hereunto set their hands and seal this 8th day of August 23. So, I would entertain a motion to accept that.
I make a motion. All by aye?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Okay, little housekeeping business here, proposal for Gibson Services, our maintenance department. We should bring forward in an open meeting for a contract to install new carrier units on our, and completion of a job for $3,293.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, all by aye?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay. Next items, renewal of our workman's comp insurance contract. Comment? Reviewed and looked at pretty seriously as far as challenge continues to keep the people, employees of Eagle County safe, and therefore keeping workman's comp premiums in line, so never stop on that job.
This, I believe, Jim and Cheryl, can you correct me if I'm wrong, this is a $96,000 increase from last year. Sound right? So, just typical for everything else that goes up, but it's something we're really, I think we say this every year, that we need to pay more attention to it, and maybe shop gets a little bit better. Yeah, pretty much $100,000 increase.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the liability insurance.
Second, all by aye?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Okay. Next is the acceptance of the liability insurance renewal. I think we went over that some length. Commissioner Switzer did that.
Yes, that
Any
was John Wright. We went over all the buildings we own as commissioners, and park department buildings, and things of that nature. That didn't increase too much. Yeah, maybe 10% or something like that. Yeah, there were no concerns, no issues, and everything's still good. Make a motion to approve this as well.
Chris, your last motion did say liability insurance, you meant workers' comp.
Workers' comp, yeah, I'm sorry. Yep.
We'll clarify that for the record.
I was looking at the wrong thing.
Second.
Okay. Thank, all by aye?
Aye.
Aye. All right. At this time, I think that covers our regular business. So we have comments at this time from commissioners or other elected officials. Any comments from elected officials? Yes.
Last week, Treasury Department added new categories that you could use ARPA funds for. Among those were paid for disaster recovery, like we just had. And they added that you could be used for surface transportation, road and bridge projects. So that's something you guys might want to reevaluate your plan.
Well, Commissioner's been working very hard on trying to meet some kind of a threshold for at least making application for recovery. There's quite a bit of expense, we have overtime, what have you. We're trying to see what it was $471,000 in damages, and we're looking at trying to meet that threshold probably with combined with the city or something. It's an interesting process, I guess.
Yeah, I had a good conversation with Mayor Bennett yesterday. Mayor's working with Marcus, Ernie Meeks, does that sound right?
Yeah.
The city, try to come up with what overtime they paid out, and what equipment they had to purchase, or equipment that got damaged during that storm. So hopefully we can get close to meeting that threshold, and the state's willing to help us, with help, hopefully with Mike's term, Mount Rushmore down south. I think the Department of Corrections is willing to come here and help us with a tough grinder and things like that, so I think we'll get really close to that threshold. To get to the system thing.
Yeah, there's still no guarantee once we meet the threshold, we'll be able to get that, but again, we're working towards those things, so it's, part of the process, I guess, but we're all working on it.
It was encouraging that Governor Holcomb did declare this a disaster for the county, so that does open us up for all that funding, so.
Yeah.
That's good.
Thank you, Jim. Any other comments from, did we get astray on your item on the treasurer of recovery? We covered a lot of ground there in a hurry.
That's part of it.
Okay. All right.
I think we all knew that the federal government would become less restrictive because municipalities are gonna have problems getting that money. But then we're also on a timeline, you have to spend it by a certain time, so. Whatever where we are, we'll have to just reconsider things.
All right. Any other public officials? Comments from the public?
I'll start, if that's how this works. I've never been to one of these meetings before,
Certainly.
and I'm nervous. I don't speak. I'll let you have a little bit of background on who I am. My name is Susan Strokos. I live out in the Goshen area. We have a small farm. We're not a big farmer. It's been in our family for generations. And my dad passed away in 2013. My mom passed away a few years ago. The farm's left in my hands to be a good steward of the land. And a few weeks ago, of course, I know this has all been, y'all are aware of it by now, the EPA sent us letters. And that, we didn't know what it was about, basically. So anyway, we did go to the meeting, and since then, I've been doing a lot of research, trying to figure out what this is and all this. And I know also there's been a lot of conflict and angriness, and I'm not here for any of that. I don't do Facebook. I don't do any of that stuff. I've heard some of the comments, but I want you guys to understand that it came out of left field. And it basically is, they will take our land and do what they want with it. It's a pittance of what it's worth, what they want to offer. And we are not about money out there. They could offer me $1 billion and I would not accept it because it's the land that's important to me. I'm shaking, I'm sorry. I'm just nervous. But anyway, the people in that community, that's why they're angry. So I hope that people can have empathy and understanding. They are not violent people. They wouldn't hurt you at all. I know that I see the comments and I'm thinking, I know why people are scared and everything, but they're not. I think they're just so afraid and they don't know what their course of action is. I also know that you guys' hands are tied. I've read the bills. I get that. But when somebody says our hands are tied, that means that's it. But I honestly believe in my heart there's hope. There's never that's it. So here's what I would like to say. I have done, the actual wells are out on not my land, but out in our community. The pipes will be out in our community. I hope others will speak to the risk of that, just in that area. But it affects not just us, entire Vigo County, Vermilion County. And I don't know if people, I'm sure you've done your due diligence, but I just want to know in my heart that you guys have a true understanding of what is going on. It includes our neighbors, Illinois. If this leaks and gets into our aquifers, they have a pipeline out in our area that takes them water. So it could run their water system too. And I want to know, are they aware of that? I know we're on a well. We do not use any water system. But the people of Vigo County, Terre Haute, it can. They get their water from these aquifers too. And everybody thinks this plume. The EPA sent us a letter, and it was a 2-mile radius, which was part of my property. That's how I got one. But this plume, this 2-mile radius is a minimum. And this is one of the things that I want to just quote. These are scientific studies. This one's from, and you can check these links out yourself. This is from Science Direct. It said the CO plume, depending on the conditions, I'm going to kind of paraphrase here, may slowly migrate up. So back into our atmosphere. We're taking it from our air and putting it back into our land. We're not like saving the planet. We're just moving things around because the planet is just a big circle. Air, water, land. So you're taking it here, putting it here. So it migrates back up. And it says, it may leak through fractures, abandoned wells, shafts, thus potentially the risk to underground drinking water sources. And we all know that to be true. If there's a crack in this land, it will seep. That stuff seeps because they're not using a container. And I think a lot of people are confused. They think they're going to store it in the ground in a container. It's not. It's in spaces so that it seeps. And if the shaft goes this way, it's going to go. If it finds a crack, it's going to go here and then to the next thing. It moves. And it says under, and I don't know how to really pronounce these words. I know what they mean. The homogeneous and there's been heterogeneous case studies. And it said there's a very large uncertainty in determining the plume's boundary. Now that EPA report showed a 2-mile radius. But here they are saying they cannot really determine because of different cracks, fractures, and shafts. I lived out there. I was there when Peabody went. I know what the damage it did to our foundations. There were cracks everywhere. I could only imagine way down in the earth, the cracks and fractures that it left. I remember I was standing out in my front yard, I don't even know what year it was, 2008 or something, and there was a little tremor. I thought, what's that? So we already have tremors. The pressure that they're pushing this down with, that causes earthquakes. That increases the activity under there. One more thing that I would like to kind of say. This is from, and I have talked with them specifically, I've been on the phone all day yesterday, the U.S. Department of Energy. It says, and this is what kind of bothered me, the legal pore space issue, because basically what they're saying is they're trying to get storage under our ground, which is our ground, not theirs. They're going to store it underneath our ground. It says it's complicated, but it's even more complicated for a large CO2 storage project, which is like the one we're trying to do here, or they're trying to do. It says the plume may extend over hundreds of square miles. And the pressure buildup extends over an even larger area. That's scary. That's from the Department of Energy of the United States. So when they're saying it's a 2-mile radius, and I don't think it's fair that they weren't notified, not just us, but my next door neighbor got nothing. That's like 50 yards. The people in the city, we're not 100 miles from Terre Haute. We're not 100 miles from Edgar County. It could affect a wider audience. Why are not they knowing what's going on here? Because many of Terre Haute people have no idea. Why isn't the mayor here and being like concerned about this? I get jobs. My husband works in Terre Haute. I know the importance of jobs. I do. But I don't know. Is a job important? Is our health, safety, and our entire community? What if it's obliterated? I don't understand. I don't know what the number of jobs are. I'm not an accountant. I don't know. But I'm like, I know the importance of jobs. I'm not saying we don't need jobs in Terre Haute. We need jobs. But we need health and safety is our main concern. Because what good does a job do you? Just one more thing. And when I talk about, I've talked about the earthquakes, I've talked about pressure that's going to be underneath the ground, I've talked about how widespread this is going to become. Not 2 miles. Another thing is, if it does get into aquifers, this company, who I have talked to, I've talked to them. I went there. If it does get into aquifers, and they are limited in the amount of liability they're responsible for, American Water would have limited recovery. That recovery and fixing of all those problems would rely on Vigo County. It would also rely on the taxpayer, the customers. They would be charged for that. What if this happens? What if it affects Edward County? Can Vigo County be sued by Edward County because you guys allowed something in our county? I understand that your hands are tied. I've read the law, but I want to build a team because I think we're all living in the same area. And I also think Edward County should be known. It should be told to them what is going on. And I think then we just need to say, is the risk outweigh the benefit? That's all I'm asking. And please, please, those people in those communities, I heard some of their comments the other night. I heard somebody say something about Ruby Ridge, which brings fear to me. I don't know the man personally, but I do know that people would not harm a flea, but they feel like everything they've worked for has been taken away from them, and they have no say. And my farm's important to me, not because it makes money. It costs me so much money because my taxes are so high. I make very little. I don't even farm it. I have to hire somebody to farm it. So what it does pay, it just barely keeps the farm going. My husband works in Terre Haute to provide for us. It's because of our heritage. I love this community. I have never been here before because I do trust you guys. But I want to make sure that you understand what's being done. I want to sure that you understand what could happen. And this company, I've done a lot of research on them. It was very difficult because there are so many LLCs. It's hard to track where they're from. But these people, and the one that I've met with a couple, they're not from here. They are not even from Indiana. They are on the East Coast and DC. And that scares me because if they lived here, I think that they would be worried about it. They don't want it in their backyard. We're just a flyover state. And if Indiana doesn't protect itself, who is going to protect us? Because it's the East Coast and the West Coast that are making major decisions on where we live, not just me, but you guys. That's what I just wanted to, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I think, Commissioner Schweitzer, you've organized a meeting with the company up about in that area.
Yeah, but Mike, I want to address everybody when we get done with public comments. So
Oh,
I'll
okay.
take other comments about that. Yes,
All
ma'am.
right.
Sorry. Oh, yeah.
No, if somebody else wants to go first, please, go ahead.
Well, I'm from Negocian, been there 47 years. I was raised in California, survived 1971 earthquake. There isn't a house in this area, Terre Haute, Indiana, Vigo, whatever, that could survive an earthquake. My question to you guys, what is your preparedness for a natural disaster? What is your preparedness for if one of these things go bad? Do you know that within seconds people can be suffocated by this stuff? We have children in schools less than 3 miles from where they're going to put this thing. You guys are responsible for our safety. And I would like to see by August 22nd what your plans are if there is a disaster. Because there's many people here that have children, grandchildren. My family, which I was married into, is 5 generations in that area. My children are still in the Negocian area. My grandkids. They didn't want to leave. I tried, trust me. They're only 2 blocks away. Chris Wilbur knows my family. They're all hardworking people. And we've got mine shafts all under these houses. So if one thing goes wrong and the earth shifts and the shale shifts, you have sinkholes. Are you ready and prepared to take care of those issues? I don't think so. Indiana never had to worry about earthquakes. And if you've ever been in one, you would never forget it. So I'd like to see a report on what you plan to do. If there is a plan in place, if there isn't, that's fine. Be honest and tell it. Because I don't think anyone wants any more lies. But be honest and let us know what your plans are for the safety of our community, West Terre Haute, Paris, Vermilion County, or Universal, Shirkyville, Libertyville. I can name them all. That's not counting the water that will be polluted.
I'd like to address, first of all, there aren't any lies coming from the commissioner's office.
I know, but I don't want to be
We
lied
don't
to.
have, we don't have any intention of lying to anybody.
Thank you.
Second, we do have a great emergency management agency. It's out of the Indiana area.
On the
National
issues that we're facing,
Guard, earthquakes, natural disasters.
I want to see it.
It's on the website, beavercounty.in.gov, it's all there.
And do you have one for the carbon dioxide?
Well, I mean, not necessarily for a carbon dioxide project, because
My point.
everybody needs to understand that in 2021, this was a hydrogen facility. That's all it was going to be. Nikola got involved as a hydrogen investor to develop some type of hydrogen energy to power their trucks. In 2021, the commissioner supported that project because it was bringing 125 to 200 jobs into our community. And at that time, there was no talk whatsoever of pipelines, carbon sequestration, or anything like that. That's all it was at that time. About 45 days ago, maybe even 3 months ago, Larry, our engineer, the commissioners, Steve Witt, Economic Development Corporation, we all went out to Wabash Valley Resources, and we first found out about carbon sequestration being off-site. Their initial test well was on their own property. So we found out, just like you folks did, about
Unreal.
a pipeline and stuff like that. Now, maybe shame on me or the commissioners. This is my district, so I take responsibility for it. This bill has been in the State House for almost 7 years. Eventually, we knew at some point, along with other counties in Indiana, projects like this were going to happen because they're happening all across the country. In that time, even leading up to the bill passing this year, there was a bill proposed by a legislator in or around Benton County who did try to allow for local input or home rule, because commissioners, as a group, always want the final say in solar farms, wind farms, anything like that. We just went through that with Key Rock Energy, with the methane wells up there. So unfortunately, in this law, 421, they removed local control. So the only thing, and Mr. Shagley might be able to help me here, after reaching out with Jared Baylor from Area Planning, we have no rezoning for injections into the earth in Vigo County. I don't think any county across the state has that. We do have zoning for mining. If you're pulling from the earth, the
Right.
soil or the minerals, we have a mining overlay for that. But right now, there is no zoning necessary or needed for injection.
So how would you go about getting the zoning?
It would be a pretty comprehensive plan. I mean, it would have to, and it wouldn't just be us, and also recognize that this is, according to the law, regulated by the state of Indiana.
Because it's only Vermilion County and Vigo County that got their hands tied.
Well, there's a couple other counties in Indiana that are doing some.
Well,
But
according to the
their
research,
Yes, their hands are not tied. Those other ones, they have a say so.
Mhm.
But my question is here, so what I'm understanding, is like you're on our team. But the thing of it is, and there is a bill out there on the floor, and I know you say it's dead, but would it be dead if we all were pushing for that? You have more pull than I do. I'm just a simple person, but you have more pull, and there are politicians, officials in this area, and there could be some in other areas. It's on the floor. It is not dead until it's gone. if we could work together to get that, and I know what bill you're talking about, because Rick Niemeyer, just north of Indianapolis, wrote that bill. And then someone, which disappoints me, that you cannot see who added an amendment to the bill. The amendment is what says, except for, and they excluded us. So one, how can we find out who added that amendment? Because I want that amendment out there. Then let's get that bill passed that says I feel you guys should have a say so what goes on. We elected you. So that's my point. How can we, I'm not an official, I don't know how all the government works, but when something is there, it's not dead. I know what you're saying because nobody wants to handle it, but we've got to make them handle that. And we've got to find out who put that amendment in there. And we've got to take out that amendment and say, no, that is not right. They can add a second amendment and says, nope, the first one doesn't apply.
Yeah, so when you say another county's hands aren't tied, I believe Senate Bill 471 or 451 is across the state.
No, it is strictly Vigo County
Vigo
and
County.
Vermillion County.
Mhm.
It is a pilot program that only affects us.
And now, let me tell you this, and I know this because I just had a big discussion with a guy that knows a whole lot about this. If another company were to come in here and want to do the same thing, it allows you guys then to tell them, no. But on this one, your hands are tied. And I don't know how you all can be as elected officials okay with your hands tied. Because you know, and that's what's happening, you are being blamed for something that's not you, from what I'm hearing. So I'm not okay with your hands being tied. You should not be okay with your hands being tied. How do we work as a team and not just our little county out here? And I'm talking everybody's counties. How do we work as a team to get that 247, get it back active, take that amendment out to throw it back in our hands, not our hands, but your hands, so that you have a say. You live here, and I figure if you live here and decide what's best for our county, then you have a vested interest. It's your families, it's your children, it's your grandchildren. That's how I feel about it. I'm on your team,
Understand?
I really am.
Can any of you tell me who told you 451 is just in regards to Vigo and Vermillion County?
It's on the
Right
website.
in the bill.
I don't see it. I'm looking at the bill right now. I don't see anything particular that Vigo and Vermillion County.
I will tell you who to talk to and who knows, and he has been at the state office for years. He's on the floor. His name is Kerwin Olson, and he knows those bills. 1209.
You're correct, 451 for Vigo and Vermillion County.
451, it's right in there. It's the capture of carbon dioxide of the proposed.
I don't think anyone wants to blame you guys for anything. We're coming to you guys
Terre Haute, Indiana.
for
Yeah,
answers and
I
it's
understand
to
that.
help
I
us.
just need you guys, or I want you to understand along with us, is once the governor signs something in state law, it's law. And when
451.
451.
State bill 451.
Olson.
He's with who?
He is with Citizens Action Coalition.
Okay.
But I understand that when they pass bills, Chris, I understand when they pass a bill, it's law. I mean, I get it. I follow the law. I may not always agree with it, but I follow it. But laws are changed daily. Daily. There are even emergency orders to change laws. And that's why I want to be a team to fight for this. Not fight with you, not fight with anybody. I want to go to there and be like, no, this is unacceptable. Because I know even people that aren't, I've called every one of my officials, I'm telling you. I've called the federal government. I have called Indiana state departments up here. All I know is that in my department, like Tanya Path, she doesn't represent us. But she would support this. She voted for that 1209. But there were conditions that were told to her. And to me, she got it's kind of like voting for something, hearing what somebody's telling you, because you don't have the time to look up all the information. So you take the word for it, you vote for it. And I feel like she got kind of roped into this. There are people from this area that are now highly concerned and they voted for it, but that doesn't mean that they were like, oh, we're gonna destroy our community. No, they didn't understand. They didn't have the time to look into it all. Then they were trying to pass things to let you guys control this again.
Hey, Chris. Yeah. Mike Morris was there with us. Joni, you won't like this, but you know what they said, if there's a leak, what can happen? It's gonna be over by Fayette Elementary. You know what the EPA said? We've made them set back $30 million because they said, what if the kids at Fayette are in school? What do we do if there's a leak? They said, oh, we got $30 million set back.
What's that?
Exact words, just in case some of those kids got killed or something breathing and
That's
stuff.
what I mean.
Yeah,
It's a
well,
lie.
I don't.
It
You couldn't
suffocates you.
give me $1 million for my stuff, and I'm just telling you, that's what they said. If there's a leak, we have $30 million set back to pay for those kids. I'm just saying health wise.
Okay, all right.
Just me and you talked the other day.
Yes.
I'm just saying health wise.
Sure.
I wouldn't give up my kids $30 million. I can guarantee you that.
Well, I got a 6-year-old.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
He's pretty
I'm
rough.
not-
And I've been through cancer treatments the last 3.5 years, and there's an agent in that carbon dioxide that shoots off that stuff. And I've got a prayer list right now with over 65 people in Vigo County that has cancer. And that agent hits into that,
It's gonna be a lot more.
it's gonna be a whole lot more than that.
And that's,
But I'm not bragging about me, I
that's
just care
another
about
thing,
the kids.
cancer
you
is
know.
very
Lord's got my
high in
neck
that
sick,
area.
so.
Well, I guess what I want you guys to understand is I'm reading all your Facebook comments. I'm reading the really very poor Facebook comments that are targeted toward us, and I'm reading the ones that are, asking for help. We're here to help. The issue is that this is and I'm not making excuses for our legislators at all. I think the people you need to talk to are them,
We are.
because when it comes to law, locally, we can control our ordinances and our laws, but at a state level, it's state legislators or regulation commissions that control those laws.
I understand that, but you are also a citizen here.
Oh, I know, and I'm not saying,
So,
we'll stand by you.
No,
It's important.
not stand by us, fight with us. Right. That's all I'm asking. I hate the word fight. But it is the word fight, because it's like, I realize your position, and I know how the government works. But you are a citizen, you live here. You have rights as a citizen.
But our
Fight with
lawmakers
us. I
are the
mean,
ones that made the decision.
And you guys know the ins and outs better than we do as far as government. That's all we're asking. is
Well, I think
fight
we
with
also
us.
have a lot of questions. I think,
Yes.
Friday I had about 4 people reach out to me, and I reached out to Mr. Shagley, and he talked to Danny Williams and Nayland Gupta, and they were willing to have several meetings with us if needed. So the one sanctioned meeting, I understand there's another meeting that somebody's trying to put together for Wednesday,
Tomorrow night, yeah.
tomorrow night. I don't know where it is, I don't know who,
I don't
think
think
she's
they have
gonna
the
post it
number
today.
yet.
who's responsible for it, but I would say the Tuesday meeting, I categorize this as official, but it's an official meeting in partnership with commissioners. We have asked, Wabash Life Resources to come together and answer questions. What we don't want during that meeting is a lot of civil discourse.
Right.
Yelling at each other and us arguing with each other gets us nowhere. And not saying we're doing that today, because this is a great conversation, but there's gonna have to be some sense of control there, because what we had with the methane wells was really, it was not a good meeting. People were yelling over the top of each other. There was no opportunity for Key Rock to really speak, because they were getting yelled at and not, they never had an opportunity to say much. So I would encourage you guys, the same comments you have here today that you're giving to us, I would think all 3 commissioners will be there. I'm sure some of the state legislators will be there. And I know Wabash Life Resources is going to have a pretty heavy presence there. It's at Fayette Elementary at 6.
But I also want you to understand, they are anxious. A lot of those are just words. I get it. Like I said, I don't do Facebook. I don't know, but I've seen it through people show me things. I understand that. It's hard to control emotions. We have not like a town mayor. We don't have anybody like that in that area. We can spread the word, but people are hurt, they're hurt, and that's where the anger comes from. So I want you guys to have empathy. If you got a letter out of the blue today that said, we're gonna do this to your home and you have no say, well, it would make your gut just wrench. And that's where a lot of that's coming from. I honestly believe in my community. I've lived out there all my life. My dad grew up out there. I don't feel they're mean. I don't think, of course, they're gun owners, but they don't use it they wouldn't be violent. I honestly don't believe they would ever be violent. I would pray if they were, I would be angry about that, because that is not who we are. But this, the anxiety, it's the worry that you've worked all your life for something, and they're doing something to it that you don't want, that just, it's like, not right, not
Yeah.
fair.
Susan, please understand that I'm not saying that the folks from Negotiation are violent or
But,
anything.
but.
I got one.
I'm just saying,
I'm joking.
when you put
They're-
it out,
they're farmers
put it out like,
actors,
it's still-
She has a cane, so.
I was.
Hey, I broke my ankle.
I was told this by somebody who's, I'm emotional. My emotion goes to this instead of anger. A lot of people's emotions doesn't go to this and it goes to anger. There was another woman who is like me, I feel civil. When the post was put out and it said police or sheriffs or whatever it said, instantly she was like, what are these? And then it made her angry. And I was like, maybe because I can understand your guidance. It's like, oh my gosh. But that kind of stuff too makes it worse, is when you're acting like that. We need cops there because you guys, that's how they.
But you know what, right now, we have cops standing outside our door. We have them at every single meeting we have, it's not
Exactly.
just.
And they
No,
should be.
I know
Yeah.
that, but all I'm saying was, the announcement that was made, to me, that shouldn't have been referenced. Because if those cops were there, which I appreciate y'all doing your job, if they were there, it would have been like, oh, that's just normal. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I
when
have
you-
to address those things.
But when you put that out there, instantly, people go on alert, because it was like, well, why did they think?
Yeah.
But it's like, he showed up, I had no idea he was there, I appreciate him being there, I don't wanna be hurt by anybody
Right.
either.
And they did the same thing with the whole Mill Dam, when
But
the
I
Mill
just
Dam thing was
think
going
it's
on,
the
they put out that
we
the police will be
understand that.
there.
It's
Yeah.
the communication,
And that's good.
it's like when you say that, and you put that out there, and I don't know if legally you have to put that out there, or if you could have just held the meeting and had the police there, and and they stood out there like this, which I so appreciate, it doesn't intimidate people, it just overlooks them and oversees what's going on. It's the messaging,
Well-
and the anger comes from the lack of information from you all and the messaging, that's where it's coming from.
But to Chris's point, if you put your emotions and angers towards your state legislator, you've got
Understand?
congressmen, senators, all of them are a part of this.
You're exactly right.
And we're going after these guys right now, but we should be actually going after the
No,
lawmakers.
I agree, and I've been calling the lawmakers, and I have not been going after these guys because I don't do Facebook. I don't do anything over technology. I call, and I've been civil, I've called quite a few, I haven't called you directly, but I've called some other people within, not just the county, but within the city. And I've been very civil because I act just like I act now. But it's hard to control a community, and you know this. You've grown up out there. You know they're good-hearted people. And you know, but they get riled up, don't they? And they holler and yell. Do you think they would, personally, growing up in West Road, do you think they would ever
Just
hurt?
Chris Woodward.
I don't know, I've been pretty good fights.
What did you?
Nothing. I understand completely. I mean, we all do. I think Mike, Mark, and I, along with a lot of the other people in this room, we have tried to be more transparent than, anybody possible. I mean, I'm involved in social media and going against the person who's saying I'm lining my pockets with somebody from Wabash
I
County
understand that's
Resources.
hurtful.
I hate those comments.
I
always try to
understand
stop
that.
those immediately.
And I agree with you.
But the purpose to announce security was just simply because we needed to announce security. We want people to know that they feel safe. We want Wabash Valley Resources people to know they feel safe because they absolutely didn't have to have the meeting.
Well, and if you want to let Wabash Valley Resources know that, we'll have, but when I don't think people out there worry about their safety with their neighbors. I think that messaging brought across that,
To me, it's just personal interpretation. I mean, we're just being open and honest with there's no
But-
security there, so.
but I live out with these people and I know how they
I
interpret
understand.
things. And
We
that's
all
what I
interpret
think
things differently.
we all to be careful
So-
of. That's what I'm saying.
Are there any other comments in regards to this that you kind of feel like we don't already know?
I have a few
Yes, ma'am.
that I would like to make. My name's Maria Osborne. My husband Bill and I own 40 acres that would be directly into the plume. We're less than a mile from the wellhead. We did receive, the first we had ever heard of this was the letter from the EPA. And when you start doing the research on it, you find out that they have basically stripped us of our rights. They can come and take our ground, they can offer us a minimum amount of money for the use of our property. Once the plume is under us, which nobody seems to know how they're going to track that or be able to know about it. And so I guess my questions, I had a few questions for you just in general. Did John Ford, Alan Morrison, or Tanya have anyone reach out to the commissioners before this bill was signed into law?
We always get legislative updates from our lobbyists, we always have chamber of commerce meetings and things like that.
So you were aware,
We were aware of this because of the economic impact the jobs were gonna bring to the community,
right, but not the wells
not the wells.
or the pipelines? You were not aware of those, or that they were stripping us of our rights, that this was a bill that was strictly for Vermillion and Vigo County? You were unaware of that?
Well, yeah, we were aware of it because I especially advocated with Benton County, who was the lead proponent of another Senate bill that never even made out of committee to allow local control. Like I said, to preface this meeting is commissioners always want home rule, local control and making those decisions.
Exactly,
So
so,
that was thrown out.
so that was basically taken from you. And so, and you're aware of the limited liability that they have been granted? Okay, so, and as far as Fayette Township, when you found out these wells were gonna be in Fayette Township, did you make any effort to contact us?
I did not personally, no.
No.
I mean, we found out in, this is the truth. I mean, as of about 60, 70 days ago, when we had went to Wallace River Resources, their test well was on their site. And we were under the interpretation that their test well, or the wells would be on
That
their
would
site.
be the only place. So have any of you made, comments to the EPA on the Class 6 permit?
I have not personally.
You have not, none of you have personally. Have you been given any research or information or data about what can happen with CO2 pipelines in our area?
Just for my own research, I looked at myself.
Okay, and that's, and there, so with the permits, but then there's also right now, and I think it just closed, there is also a permit pending with the Indiana Department of Environmental Management to change the permits for Wabash Valley Resources to allow more air pollutants to be released into our community. Are you aware, what are these?
I have no idea.
And did anyone here make any comments on that proposal? Okay.
Permit pending with the Department of Health.
It is
No,
the,
it's
I know,
IDM.
it's IDM.
The IDM.
Yeah, and it was, I'm trying to remember, Taylor Wade was the person to make comments
That's
to,
right.
and that closed. And that was the Indiana Department of
That
Environment.
closed on over the weekend.
Over the weekend.
We did send emails to say we want a hearing because we want to know.
That
Was
is,
that
I did also.
specific to, Wallace Valley Resources?
Yes,
or specific
yes.
to
Right,
Mexico?
again, saying it is a
Yes.
permit request from Wabash Valley Resources. It is, I have the numbers here if you are interested. I don't know if you want that information or not. And then finally, I guess, going back to the emergency plans, because that is you. And with the CO2 pipelines and stuff. And I'm sure you have probably heard of a small town in Mississippi in which 45 people. Have you also heard of the 1986 deaths in Cameroon, Africa? In Cameroon, Africa, it was a naturally occurring, CO2 had built up in a lake in that area. And this was a natural thing, but it was a very large accumulation. Over 1,700 people died in villages as this plume of carbon dioxide spread out and people suffocated to death. And those that did survive were left with health conditions for the rest of their lives, which I believe were shortened because of this. We are creating that exact thing here under our homes in Vigo County. We are going to put a massive amount of CO2 that is not normally located under the ground in an area that could be subject to earthquakes, that will get seismic activity just from the pressure being put into the ground, going into an area that has already been damaged by strip mining and coal mining, where there are shafts, where explosions were already set off underground. And all of this, when the EPA meeting happened, and I don't think any of you attended the EPA meeting, they said that the data that they received was basically from Wabash Valley Resources, and they had no idea about the mining activity in our communities. They had no idea about the shafts in our communities. And what's very interesting is all their data, again, came from Wabash Valley Resources, and we were being asked that the only way to change this permit or affect this permit was for us, the average citizen, to be able to provide them with scientific data that would determine something different than what they were already told. Now, there were people in our community that somehow had maps
Yes.
of the mines in
It
that
was,
area.
it wasn't, yes, they've had them for years at their home, their parents used to track the mine. EPA wanted copies of those maps, right there.
They had never seen this at all.
Ever.
And again, they kept telling us that they could not guarantee, our water should be safe. And what happens if it's not? We are on wells. If this pressure pushes the methane, if it pushes, they say that it acidifies the water and therefore that can leach contaminants out of the rocks, and that migrates up into our water supply. Into the aquifer that also provides for everybody in this area. And they are not liable. And many of the questions that we asked about the pipelines and stuff, the answer from the EPA was, that is not in our purview. In other words, every little piece is not connected. And nobody is connecting how this is going to harm our community. And again, I used to teach at Fayette Elementary. There are a lot of precious kids in that school. They are going to be riding school buses that are going to be in and near these pipelines. And if one of these should have an eruption, we need a plan, because from what I've read, if that goes out over the ground, our cars are not going to start. We are not going to be able to leave the area quickly. We may be so, at first it's confusion and such that we would not know. Even our first responders coming in would have to come in. They said down in Mississippi, they have to have oxygen in order to go into the areas to get the people out. So I hope that this group, your hands may be tied on everything else, but our safety is in your hands, and we do expect that somebody is going to be looking out for us.
Yeah, I want to address that again too, because now that I'm sitting here thinking about that, and Jody, you might be able to help me, I'm not sure, but the plant on, it's not 13th Street, now 13th or
Yes.
that they have, there is an emergency plan in place if the leak there, and I'm sure our response would be very similar to what that is. But like everything in this community, when a new corporation or business comes in and there is a health hazard, we just have to pivot and adjust like we always have in the past. So like COVID, for example, we didn't know there was a world pandemic coming, but we had to pivot and adjust and adapt to the new reality for what it was 2 years. I think a similar plan with our EMA director would be, we gotta understand the situations, we gotta understand the hazard, we gotta implement, in addition to the plan that we probably already have in place. But I will have that information. I'll make sure we have it.
But I think in order to have a plan, you do more studies and find out more
Right.
information. My difficulty is this information needs to be known now before it even starts.
Yeah, but I'm not sticking up for Wabash Valley Resources, so please don't take it that way. But even if this permit's approved, I would say they are 3, 4, 5 years away.
2026
2026.
is what they are talking about, that this will be very fast,
Yeah,
because they are going to move in,
we have
and we have
big
no say.
ambitions for new buildings and stuff too, and it never works out. I mean, not sitting up
But
on
you
this
see
side.
how fast they pivoted from fertilizer to hydrogen,
Yeah, from
back to
hydrogen.
fertilizer, then to hydrogen, now, and the CO2 came very quickly.
Because of the
And
money.
they worked to get those bills passed. And I tell you, and I know it's not you, and I know you was talking about people's comments, because I read those too, and I disagree with that. Unless somebody has proof of something, you should never accuse anybody of anything. But there was money given from that company, and it is public knowledge, to our representatives. And I feel personally, that is a conflict of interest. And so I feel you guys here in our local officials, not just county, but city, should be recognizing that and being like, you know what, no, this is not right. This is all of us. all of us, as an entire community, not New Goshen, not Terre Haute, I'm talking Clay, Vigo, Vermillion, and then you even throw in Edward County, and that's a different state.
I just like to say, I appreciate all you guys coming. We're learning a lot of this stuff at the same time you are. I think that's why Chris has put together this meeting, and I would encourage everybody to come to that meeting next Tuesday. We will reach out to our state legislators and anybody who can to come, and the Wild West Valley Resources, and I think those folks can answer these questions better than a lot of us.
Okay.
So I would just say, I think we appreciate our comments, but we probably should move on to do that on Tuesday. Because again, there are lots of questions we can't answer. But we do care. I mean, I think you've seen that in the things that we do. We're very transparent, whether it's the Mill Dam or it's Key Rock or whatever. We do care about the county, we care about, we live here. So, you know.
And there was a representative there, Larry, our engineer, did go to
Yes,
that.
I meant, yes.
Mine was
And Mike also was
Right.
there.
But I didn't have any comment. I listened and learned just like you guys did.
And we knew nothing about, I mean, this information, we have spent hours upon hours ourselves getting this information. And I understand that you guys are running in inside, you got jobs to do and everything like that. I just want to know and have encouraged that you guys understand the implications, not just for us, entirety. That's what I want to know. And I also, if you guys can give us some idea of how to, I want this meeting to go place. I think it will be, this conversation is good. I think it gets us all on the same page. We can be for it, we can be against it. I think everybody has the right to their opinion, so we can come together. It makes me feel like, I used to feel kind of maybe they're against it. I don't feel you're against this. I feel like you're on a team, we have different ideas, but we do want to know your opinion. We want to know if you think this is good from your own perspective. But I need help, and I think Marie and these people that are going to be at that meeting, I'm not sure how to get our community, because we do not have a mayor or whatever, how do we get them calmed down so I don't want them to frighten you, but I don't know how to get them to calm down. And we don't know all the members of our community.
No.
We can get up there and say, you guys, now let's just be civil and let's ask questions. But if we don't, you know how it is, if you don't know something personal. But this is so personal to them. That's what I worry about. I don't know how, can you give us any advice on how we can get community members that we know and don't know without going door to door to be like, let's have a civil.
90% of the people out there are not gonna raise, there might be some
They raise
farmers,
their
don't get me
voices, but
wrong,
they're
there's a
not
few.
biased.
They might raise their voice, but there's not gonna be any violence.
And that's why I said, even raising voices, I know you don't want that. But I do wanna point out this, with the Key Rock thing, it was those raised voices and that anger that moved them out. And that's what I'm saying. And that's how those communities work.
Our area seems to be under siege lately between, these different companies, and the transparency is not there. To get a letter from the EPA with a map that you're looking at and you're like, wait a minute, I'm right here. This is me. And then you read the legislation and you find out that the company has been given limited liability. If my house falls into a sinkhole, if my foundation cracks, they have no responsibility. How is this going to affect our insurance rates in our area? And our property values. There you go. You're giving a tax abatement to this company, and they have no responsibility to us, the taxpayers. Again, like she said, Indiana American Water is going to have to pass on, if there's any problems, pass it on to the people, not to this company that is going to make over probably close to $2 billion in tax credits over the 12 years. And once that 12 years is up, unless they can find somewhere else that they can run their pipeline and pump that into and continue getting these credit monies, they're gone. Eagle County will be the dumping site and left behind.
Can you say passive?
Yes.
Hey, Chris, real quick, they can retract the tax abatement. Well, try to get that. Because some of the people voted on it have no clue what these people's talking about. and they passed it. Had no clue, county council,
All of the,
Bible County County Council.
all of the email addresses for your county councils on our website, if you want to email them as well.
They had no clue what they was voting for passed.
All the
They supported this 100%
emails are on the county
Yep.
website, I'd have everybody to start.
All right, well, we gotta wrap this up because we got rezoning meeting, so is
Well,
there any
we
other
also
comments?
have Cliff.
Oh, yeah, Cliff.
Yeah, we have some other public comment, but it's encourage you to attend that.
Goes from 6 to 8 day at next Tuesday, right?
Yep.
All right, Cliff, you're up.
I'm up. Name's Cliff Stevens. I'm here to help represent, we got the memorial up here on the southeast corner of the courthouse. And right now, we got benches up there with information on 2 veterans that got killed in Vietnam from Garfield and Gersmeyer. And we're here to represent another gentleman from Wiley High School that got killed in 1968. I give the information to the commissioners. Excuse me for not standing up, I got bad knees. But, and I'm old. Everett Sweet, served his country and got a service medal and various other medals. And we'd like to get his name represented in Wiley High School, put on one of the blank benches up there. Get the old schools back in play here so everybody knows what we all did serve our country. So I came from West Beagle, so,
That's right, boy.
But we'd like to see about getting that done, if we commissioner's permission.
Well, Commissioner Morris is your go-to, we're gonna pawn that one on him. He's good at getting that stuff done, so.
I done, coming out the hallway here.
And this was Fred Sweat, or what, 6 you say, from your family? That generation? 6, yeah. 2 girls and 4 boys?
6 boys and 2 girls.
Okay, all right.
Wow.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, I'll work on that, I do, Ted.
There you go. I'm also president of Vigo County Veterans Memorial Park out there around the stadium. We're putting several bricks to put out there. If you go out there, there's over 800 bricks out there. And I had the opportunity to confiscate, or however you want to put it, one of the American Legion posts for closing. I got a 40mm anti-aircraft weapon sitting out there at Brown Avenue and Locust Street. And it's in the process of going to get painted. We're going to put a little bench around it and everything to represent the Navy. And I'm trying to get a tank out there to represent the Army. So the Air Force is going to come in with some planes and put a small runway out there and help us out on I understand, the southeast corner of that. So my only thing left is to get something for the Marines to play with. So, but other than that, we've been working on this park ever since 2003. It took 2 years to put it together, and the commissioners finally sanctioned it. We got some of the acreage out there to help do this to represent the veterans. And the Arch is a memorial. It's a historical monument, and that's the reason why the commissioners pretty well got together and chose that that would be a wonderful site to start with. So if anybody wants a brick, you can call. Everybody out here knows me, so you can call me and I'm gonna get you set up for a brick out there. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for all you do.
Kevin, you got something?
I did have a statement I'd like to make. Anyone's familiar with the Western Holt, Sugar Creek, and Fayette area knows that the majority of people are on wells. The wells are all bad. I mean, they've all got sulfur, iron, other material in them that they shouldn't have. I guess my question is, and I know so many people have tried to tap into your ARPA funds and any other things that they get their hands on, but can't there be some type of collaboration with the Western Hope, town of Western Hope, to extend their municipal water to the outlying rural areas? Because Sugar Creek and Fayette have been basically attacked or inundated with businesses wanting to go in out there. All of them are going to disturb the land. It's not going to go away. If these two don't pass, obviously Key Rock didn't, and now you've got Wabash Valley Resources, there's going to be another one behind it. At some point, something's going to happen. The water's only going to get worse. I thought ARPA money was for quality of life. It seems like there could be some sort of collaboration there to extend quality of life to the residents out there.
Yeah, I mean, certainly even Fayette, yeah, I mean, I think this conversation we should also have with.
My
Wabash
well is
Resources,
excellent. There is not a thing wrong with my well. I've got the best tasting water.
You're one of
And I wanna
the few,
keep it that way. I
I
really
can
do.
guarantee you're one of the few if you take a poll out there. I've lived out there forever since I've been married, my family's lived out there. All the farmers out there, majority of them are on wells, you might find one good one out of 20 bad ones.
Yeah, I live off of Darwin Road, and I have well water that we shower with.
But you can't drink it,
We can,
neither can we.
that's why I'm here.
It was there.
Yeah, Kevin, I think it's a conversation we should have, not only with us, I think with Wabash Valley Resources, as well as this
Well-
project takes off.
I just wanna know, and I get your point, we're on well water, and of course, when you have rain, it goes dry. Our well water, we're lucky we're good, but I do know that there are people that do have sulfur in it, and I understand what your comment is. Businesses are wanting to come out there, but our main focus is not just our water. I mean, putting us on that kind of water would be great for people. I think you should look into that, but I think we need to protect Vigo County. That's our main goal. It's not to come here to kind of get, well, we'll provide water. We want to know we have your support in protecting our lands and the entire county. I guess that's what we're looking for, not just getting us on well water. Because carbon is in the air. If you take it here and you put it in the ground, we are not getting clean energy from this. Plus, it's actually more carbon in the air. They can only sequester so much and put it underground. And when it's down that deep, you cannot know where it's at and what is going on. That's our concerns.
All right, anything else, any other public comment? Okay, we'll wrap this meeting up, and then we gotta go to the meeting in about 10 or 15 minutes, so. If anybody wants to stick around and talk to me, I'm gonna be probably a half hour or so before I'm done, so. Okay.
All right, no more. That concludes our business. Commissioner, this AM of Tuesday.